Hello, and a very warm welcome to everyone joining us. Today, we're going to be exploring how AI can help bridge the gap in virtual interviews. We've got an awesome panel lined up for you all today. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand off to our engineering head, Vishal, for introductions. Over to you, Vishal.
Thanks, Namin. Hi, guys. So I'm the head of engineering at iMocha, and I'll just briefly talk about myself because I brag sometimes, but I'll be short over here. So I would say 1 year into recruitment tech, HR tech. Uh, I've been 15 years of hiring manager. That means whichever organization I was part of, I've been a hiring manager over there, hiring technical skills for almost 10 plus to 15 plus years, right? And I also have an experience of 2 years into recruitment ventures. So uh, into this particular webinar, I'll probably wear a hat of a hiring manager, a recruiter, and as well as a recruiter tech head of engineering as well. We have Nalin, Shubham, and we have Sujit with us. So over to Shubham, if you would like our audience to hear something more about yourself.
Sure, Vishal. Sure, Vishal. So this is Shubham Arora here. By title, I'm a solution specialist for data platforms and AI, which essentially translates to I work with Microsoft's biggest enterprise customers and help them strategize their data visions and put them to fruition. With that said, sometimes I've got to put on the hat of a product manager. Sometimes I've got to put on the hat of a seller. Sometime of a solution architect. Everything said and done, goal is to make sure that we realize the tailwinds of analytics and AI and make them a reality for India's biggest customers. Over the last couple of months, I've been working with the guys over at iMocha as well and helping them realize the vision of the world to adopt AI as the staple diet that they consume, especially in recruiting. Yeah.
Thanks, Shubham. Nalin, a few words from yourself.
Hey, thanks, Vishal. So, hi guys, I am Nalin Muzumdar. I work with Microsoft as a cloud solution architect, and I work with India's enterprise customers to help them build solutions around advanced analytics and AI on Azure.
Thanks, Nalin. And Shubham, Nalin, you know how eager were we, how excited were we to have this particular webinar. So finally the day has arrived. So I'm really happy about it. Sujit, maybe a few words about yourself so that the audience know about you as well.
Sure, Vishal. So I'm Sujit, co-founder and CTO at iMocha, working in the HR tech, mainly in the skill assessment space for last since 2015, and currently working with the Microsoft team to really get the elements of around artificial intelligence, machine learning, NLP, to make sure that skill assessment and recruitment around it is done with heavy and innovative tech. And that's what iMocha stand for. We say it's Innovation Mocha. So working with the Microsoft team and getting this innovation around technology in the hands of the recruiters and the hiring manager.
Thanks, Sujit. That was an awesome introduction. So let's start. So guys, a quick question, right, that everyone would have in their mind. I mean, of course, the most of the audience over here might be recruiters over here. So is AI a recruiter's friend or a foe? So yes, it's not new to say that. I mean, COVID has impacted almost all the industries, right? And I was talking to my recruiter friends also, and they were saying that, yeah, of course, COVID has impacted the recruitment business also. I mean, not from a profit or loss. I'm not talking from that perspective. What I'm referring to is that the way the businesses function, COVID has completely changed that particular part, right? Now, even on our side, we had a lot of backlog that was created, and we were planning to do that thing in 2021, 2022 kind of thing. But when COVID happened, we had to pick up those backlog and expedite it. So few of those things, for example, was the live coding interview, which helps our clients to do a live technical hiring. And to be honest, we had no choice but to use the same tool for our own hiring also. So we have a lot of hiring using our own tool for the live coding interview for our own hiring. And apart from this, I don't think there is any particular doubt, there is any denying that AI is taking over the world, right? So Shubham, can you tell us, or maybe Nalin, can you tell us more about what are the different AI capabilities that can be leveraged in the recruitment space?
Sure. Let me try to take a stab at it. You very beautifully set the context here. In the last 6 months only, let me not speak about the last 5 years or 20 years. Let's talk about only the last 6 months. And digital transformation, at the very least, had just rocket blasted during the whole COVID crisis. If we look at it, our video calling apps are running at 85x the capacity that they were running at earlier, which means that the volumes have grown 85 times. Video calls have become a norm of sorts, right? And all of these technologies existed earlier as well. These tools existed as earlier as well. And it's only in the last 6 months that the world has realized that they can become more effective, more efficient, and bring a more balanced approach to life. And fortunately, unfortunately, we live in the age of instant gratification with Instagram, with WhatsApp, and we're raising an impatient generation. The demographics say that, let's say you look at somebody who's 7-year-old, and it is not a surprise that they'll be talking to an Alexa or a Google Home, and they'll be having very human conversations. And the entourage of AI has become very, very piecemeal in our daily existences. We may not be able to say that it has skyrocketed because we are just observing it as things pass by. Regardless of what we are experiencing anecdotally in individual capacities, let's talk about a little bit about research that has happened as well. And if you look at the AI hype cycle, we'll realize that this term AI, this term machine learning, has very well crossed the hype cycle, which means it will start to become very daily life. People will be starting to leverage insights coming out from machine learning algorithms. People will be treating AI as decision support system, and they'll be using it very, very regularly in their daily lives. And I'm pretty sure all of us use at least one element of AI, whether we know it or we don't, right? And it is embedded deep inside the fabric in all of the applications in the digital world that we use, right? And let's also look at it from a company's perspective, from an enterprise's perspective, right? That have been using machine learning, have been using AI, and have set themselves apart in the last, let's say, 20 years. Let me give you an example of Asian Paints, right? By the looks of it, looks like a paint company, but they're not a paint company. They're actually a machine learning company, right? They do more deliveries in India than all of Amazon India, right? So they deliver to every dealer thrice a day. They do more deliveries than the whole of Amazon combined, and Amazon is a consumer company. How can they do so many deliveries? How can they predict that in this area in Bangalore or in this area in Pune, this order is going to come, and let me ship it across 3 hours before the order is actually in demand, right? How can they do it? Because they've been investing in machine learning, in artificial intelligence, in making their supply chain absolutely efficient, right? And there are countless examples of companies in India, companies globally, whether you take Indian examples like Bajaj Finance, HDFC Life, or guys like Walmart, who are essentially data companies, right? They just happen to be in the business of retail, in the business of finance, in the business of insurance, but they're actually tech companies who've made ML and AI their piecemeal. And it is only for us to say if supply chain is a horizontal that is getting benefited with artificial intelligence and machine learning. Recruiting, why not recruiting, right? And it is here to eat the world. AI is here to eat the world, take it or leave it. That is going to be, if AI was a person, that would have been the message of AI to the world right now. So yeah, that's my take on it. Over to Nalin.
Yeah, that's a great context setting, Shubham. So yeah, let me, so your question was around how do we leverage some of these AI capabilities for like the interview platform itself, right? So one example of this would be, so companies like Google, Microsoft, at least all the computer science related tech companies have been doing something like like coding interview platforms on things like HackerRank, CodeChef, throughout like the past decade or so, right? So what this essentially means is, if there's a certain skill set you want to test in a particular candidate, there are platforms where they can go. There's a gamified model where they can go and learn something related to that particular technology, and in the process take part in these competitive coding competitions and get a better rank there, right? So in that particular gamified model, they can essentially get identified across the world, and all these great big tech companies can essentially pick them from there. Now, what if you were to take this coding platform as a filter for hiring, and take it for other skill sets as well, right? Not just for tech. So for example, if there's a person who is there's a particular job role, let's say a call center representative, who needs to have good language skills, right, in interacting with the end customers. So if you want to build something around that, how do you build a platform where people can come in and test their own presentation skills or own conversational skills, and build on top of that, right? So how do you integrate that into something like a live coding interview platform? So it'll be interesting to
Right.
see something like that. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of permutation and combinations. Maybe
Yeah.
Sujit, if you want to add something over here.
So what I feel is what Shubham said it right. Just like let's not consider last 5 years or 3 years. In last 6 months, the world has completely changed, right? It is more about how with social distancing, and the social distancing will continue for I would say maybe year or two to come, right? At least people are going to maintain distance, people are going to work from home, interviews are going to happen remotely. So it's about how a recruiter can start trusting a technology where it can be, let's say, a video where somebody has done a coding test, right? Online coding test or online multiple choice question test. It can be anything. And now if that person is giving it remotely, how do I trust is that it's going happening in a secured way and he's not cheating, right? I cannot keep on watching that candidate throughout. So if an AI can help a recruiter solve that particular problem, it can help him to ensure that while the assessments or interviews are happening remotely, where a candidate is sitting at home, nobody is observing him, but still it's happening in a secured way. And if I can trust any particular technology or a software or a system, that yes, this particular system is ensuring me as a recruiter that things are happening in the best way, the way it's going to happen in front of me, I guess then it's my friend. And I would trust more and more this kind of systems to use in my daily job. Now, whether is it AI, is it machine learning, is it NLP? As a layman, I really don't care till the time my problem is solved.
You're right. So guys, thanks. I mean, it was a lovely tying up into whether the AI is a recruiter's friend or a foe. We definitely conclude, and I think the audience also would agree over here that it's definitely a friend. Now, one of the key takeaways that I took, Shubham, from your insight was the hype cycle of AI, right? So we are no longer into a research mode. The hype cycle is almost at the end of the maturity kind of thing, and wherein we used AI for actual applications. Now, I was going through a Gartner study also, wherein the study said that there will be around 2.8 million jobs that would be created and around 1.5 million jobs that would be eliminated. Now, when I say elimination, I don't think the study says that it will be actually eliminated. I think it would be replaced, it would be changed, right? So we have demands for social creativity, we have demands for digital dexterity skills, for example. Now, so again, everyone has to be prepared for this change in role. Now, what do you think, Shubham, this means for in the terms of remote hiring? How would remote hiring get impacted by this particular study that, let's say, the part of the study that Gartner is talking about?
Right, Vishal. I think, Vishal, on the topic of jobs creation or jobs deletion, I think the only thing that can delete jobs is our politicians and not AI, definitely.
Right.
Uh, Whether AI will create jobs or it'll end up deleting jobs. Uh, so that let me take two aspects to it. One is empirical analysis that depending on which analyst you like to read about, whether it is McKinsey or Gartner, every analyst will predict that the number of jobs, net jobs that AI will create is only going to increase, right? Now, will these jobs vanish? The answer is no. The answer is straight away no. How much will these jobs change? How much will these jobs morph? Is something that we're yet to see, right? Let me try to give you a sort of very recent and personal example. So I am based out of Bangalore. I can afford the luxury of having a maid who does my dishes. While lockdown happened, I could no longer welcome my maid to wash the dishes at my place. So I decided to take that gallant call of buying a dishwasher, right? And in that process, I would very, for the first 10 days, I would very excitedly load dishes in my dishwasher. Uh, every time a new set of dishes would come out, I would feel very excited. And this was something cool for me, right? This was something, the job of a human got automated. And then I started to wonder how many other people in just Bangalore would be doing the same thing. And then how many people in India would be doing the same thing, right? And I figured that, oh, dishwasher is also something that can help me save money. The dishwasher will pay back for itself and will turn out to be more effective, most cost effective than the maid salary itself, right? But it was only about sometime later I realized that my maid was still a human. I started missing my maid and realized that my maid would understand my softer needs. She would make sure that the dishes are cleaned on time. She would make sure that everything is in an order that I like. Right? So the human element of that service that I was getting from my maid was actually something that I was really missing. And this is like a very minuscule example. We have already had experiences in the past that talk about how any automation, the only thing that is missing is the human element of that automation, right? And that is where the jobs will be morphed. Any automation that has come in the past, we've had four industrial revolutions. I would say the fourth is almost about to conclude now. We've had four industrial revolutions. The only thing that changes in through those industrial revolutions is the nature of jobs. The jobs don't get deleted out. The jobs become much more better. Instead of somebody who was probably doing some grunt work, manual work, they're trying to manage people now, or they're trying to manage machines to make sure that they deliver effectively, and they're trying to bring in that human intelligence, the softer side of intelligence, not the IQ bit, but more the EQ bit, right? And Still, I would say that the AI will not really be something that will delete jobs. It will just morph jobs, right? And in the space of recruiting, I would say AI is something that can play as a decision support system. AI cannot completely automate recruiting. AI can still take the manual grunt work out of the recruiting process, right? But still, the things like, let's say, things that are completely driven by human creativity, human emotional intelligence, social skills. Let's say the job of selling my company to a potential candidate. Those are still jobs that will still remain with humans, right?
Right.
It is only upon us, the people, whether we adopt or we lag behind, right? So the action is on humans now. AI has thrown the ball in our court now.
That's true.
Yeah. So I was actually listening to this talk by Jeff Bezos the other day, and I'd like to tie that into what Shubham just said, right? So everybody's job has certain components which are automatable. Like these are routine tasks that you do day in, day out manually, right? And these are some things that you can automate in the future. But there are some other decisions which you as a human take, which a computer will probably not be able to decide based on the technology that we have right now, right? And here Jeff Bezos says we are still solving for artificial narrow intelligence. Like these are specific tasks with a predefined intent, right? And we're nowhere close to building like artificial general intelligence, something that can set its own objectives. And it's not like even a valid research area yet. So he says we're so unimaginative of what the future job is going to be that let's say you go back in time, let's say 300, 400 years, and let's say the most common occupation at that time would be of a farmer, or let's say a soldier, right? So let's say you go to this farmers convention where all the farmers are sitting down, and you go and talk to them about, let's say, a job from today, right? And they will be baffled. So if you say something like there's something like a massage therapist or a dog psychiatrist, they will just look at you and stare and wonder, right? So the point is, we humans like to do things, we like to be productive, right? And we will figure out things to do and use these tools to make ourselves more like powerful and more engaging. So the jobs that are mostly routine right now, uh, these will slightly become more automated, right? And these jobs are, I'm not sure, but not necessarily someone's career calling, right? So these routine tasks in a particular person's job will become automated, and you can start doing higher tasks. So you can just be taking decisions and running experiments to see which thing works better to improve our lives on a daily basis, right? So yeah, so
Okay.
and like that also means like we're going to be wealthier, so like the quality of work will go on significantly improving, and like the nature of jobs will essentially improve rather than jobs getting
That,
getting removed from the market.
that's a great answer, Nalin
Yeah.
and Shubham.
Vishal, what I Vishal, Nalin, Shubham, I think is even in recruitment, if you see, 10 years ago, for every job position, there may be some uh, 50 or 100 resumes, candidates applying, because people would go, the only way to apply in maybe 2010 was to go to a career website, okay, open your computer with a very low internet speed and apply for a job. So recruiter would get only 50 to 100 resumes per job application, and it was easy to manually screen through those resumes, talk to a candidate, sell the company to him, understand his skill set, and in a day you end up talking to 20 candidates. Great. What has happened in the last 5 years is, with a smartphone in everyone's hand and with a LinkedIn, you just go and click on apply, apply, apply. I may end up applying for a job while just have after I'm going after dinner, when I'm relaxing and I'm looking for a job, I may end up applying 10 jobs on LinkedIn, right? I may go and apply a job on a career website easily on my mobile. So a candidate previously, if he would apply for 10 jobs, if he's searching for a job, today ends up applying for 100 jobs. Now, what is happening for one job posting? A recruiter, instead of getting 50 to 100 resumes, getting 1,000 resumes. Is it possible to go to those 1,000 resumes? Impossible. How to automate that? Yes. Can you take an online assessment with a tool like IMOCA? Yes. But where is the intelligence in top of that, right? If candidates are going to give it from home, and if there is a video being proctored, do a recruiter would you expect I was talking to a vice president of a large consulting company, and he said, I don't want my recruiters and hiring managers to go through those videos to check whether they did cheating or not. Can you use AI and tell a flag, hey, green flag means no cheating done, orange flag means cheating was done within tolerable limit, red flag, out of 1,000 candidates who appeared for the assessment remotely, somebody did cheating. Can you just narrow down on those 5 candidates? We are able to remove that. So the volumes has increased, okay, for the recruiter. Now, how to handle this volume is through technology. And can that technology become more and more intelligent, kind of be your assistant, as an, it can be, I can say, can a recruiter, every recruiter get a Google Assistant through IMOCA or some kind of a thing which can help them into do that job in an intelligent way? So AI will it reduce jobs? I would say AI will make jobs, people more intelligent. And as Shubham, you said, that soft part, like for a maid, there's a soft part to it, right? Similarly, a recruiter today or a hiring manager, rather than spending time on a routine and boring task, if an AI is doing their job, they can spend that quality time in talking to those selected candidates, telling them more about the company, more about the culture, and making sure that you get the right person, a skilled person, a culture fit person in your organization. So your attrition tomorrow is much lesser and you have a high productivity.
Right.
Right. So guys, lovely answer. So that definitely, I mean, talks about how AI is going to help in recruitment, right? But does that mean that this particular AI powered video tech, for example, does it mean anything in the change in the recruiter's life in terms of learning and the skill sets that they have to now acquire additionally? So do you think, Shubham, there is a set of additional skills that this recruiters will have to learn now with respect to the AI powered video tech or any particular AI component in the recruitment process?
Right. Okay. So I'm an outsider to the recruiting industry. So let me take a stab at it and try to dissect the recruiting value chain. So there is essentially hunting for people. So I let me call it selling my company and making the best case for the candidate to join my company. That's the part one of the value chain. Second part of the value chain, as I see it, is scanning resumes, scanning applications, and probably passing the best of the lot to hiring managers. Then comes the interviewing with hiring managers, the coordination bits, and then we finally make a call with whether we want to hire or not, right? So I think we have the best of the tools at hand today. We have, I mean, LinkedIn is just killing it. We have a number of job platforms that have completely automated or they've made the scale into a super scale in terms of reaching out to the masses, right? Reaching out to the candidates who are in the best position to be able to apply. When it comes to assessments, right? Like Sujit mentioned, at that sort of a scale, I don't want to be asking my recruiters to be able to do mundane stuff, right? So I'll probably take an example of Facebook. So the attrition rate at Facebook is about 20% annually, which means that every 5 years, the company has turned over to be a new company altogether. Now imagine the number of people Facebook hires, and if I have to turn over the company every 5 years, how many resumes and how many applications does a recruiter have to go through every day? And I was hearing from a Facebook employee that this guy was a hiring manager. This guy would take 200 interviews in a day, 200 interviews in a year, which means every day one interview, which was not even his core job. He should not be doing that. He should not be subjected to doing that kind of a stuff, right? And it is only because, again, coming back to the initial point, we have so much choice and we have so much, we've spoiled this generation for immediate gratification, for so much choice. But this is something that is here to stay. It is not that we'll curtail on the number of candidates who can apply for a job. It is upon us to be able to scale so that we can meet the demands of the candidates who want to join my company, right? How do we latch onto this trend? The skills that people would want to, the recruiters would want to harp on or just polish going forward. Number one is on the analytical and statistical analysis, right? The outputs that an AI-based assessment platform will give you will have a lot of statistical component to it, right? It is upon myself to be able to make sense of the outputs that the assessment platform gives me. And for me to be able to make that human call that this statistic, maybe it is low, maybe this guy is not sorted. I'm just thinking, putting on the hat of a recruiter. Maybe this guy applied for a customer sales agent, right? But ABC skill sets are a little weak. Maybe I can take that humane call and maybe refer him to another position within my company that has more, let's say, like a more tech sort of angle to it, right? And that is another thing that recruiters will be required to put on the qualities of empathy. The creative innovation that humans are infamously known for. Let's make that more famous, right? And not to be laying lesser emphasis on selling. How do I connect if I have more time to spend on anything else but not evaluating a lot of candidates? Where can I devote my time? I can devote my time to connecting with the right candidates. I can devote my time to connecting with the right candidates on any and every platform that they are available on, whether it is on LinkedIn, whether it is on Naukri, whether it is on Facebook, wherever I can, right? That is the part, that is the angle, that is the differentiation that a human can bring in. That is something that the AI cannot do today. The AI cannot make the human feel or the candidate feel wanted, right? And a lot of times that is the thing that makes the difference between a yes or a no for a candidate.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, with respect to the analytics that you talked about, Shubham, right? Because what we know is that there are let's say, I mean, in iMocha platform has its own evaluation points based on which the AI video interview parameters are given, are evaluated, the candidates are evaluated, right? Now, there are sentiment analysis, there is speech recognition, there is tone analysis, there is personality insights and everything. So, Nalin, given your technical expertise, would you be able to explain in a layman's term, I mean, what are all these things that we are talking about to the audience over here?
Sure. So, in today's world of computing, these tasks that you just mentioned, right? Text sentiment analysis, automatic speech recognition, tonal analysis of voices. So these are attempts at solving AI tasks to solve human cognition, understand how humans communicate using machine learning, right? And how machine learning works is, instead of using rule-based programming on top of these human signals, machine learning attempts to leverage the signals and patterns hidden in the vast amounts of existing data to predict implications of new signals, right? So for example, let's take sentiment analysis. So sentiment analysis estimates whether a given sentence has a positive tone or a negative tone and tries to quantify it, let's say on a numeric scale, say 0 to 1, 0 being negative and 1 being positive, and a value in the middle, let's say 0.5 is neutral. So you could also build more sophisticated sentiment analysis models that capture aspect-based sentiments, right? Say, for instance, I go online and write a tweet. I say, I like XYZ food delivery companies' time to delivery, but their call center support sucks. And you could essentially do an aspect-based sentiment analysis for one particular aspect, that is time to delivery. I like it, but the other aspect is call center support. That sucks. So there's a negative sentiment associated with that, and then understand that. An application of sentiment and analytics would be something that is used widely by almost all companies these days, is social media analysis, right? So you go and check across all the social graphs like Twitter, Facebook, and you identify customer feedback at scale. You filter it out and address it appropriately, right? Another thing is you mentioned was speech recognition. So automatic speech recognition is again an AI task where you try to convert human speech audio to its text transcription. It's a powerful tool to enable like things like human computer interaction, audio transcription, improve accessibility across the world when combined with other AI technologies like translation systems and voice synthesis systems. Again, tonal analysis of voices is again to identify whether a particular voice is happy or sad or nervous. Right? So these are what all these AI models are and how they like typically work, right? So let me talk about what the best practices or limitations are when using these AI models for applications to certain business scenarios. And then I will talk about how we can use this in recruitment also, right? So currently, these AI models perform well for a particular context only, right? The context is based on the data used to train the model. So you say your sentiment analysis model was trained using Amazon's or Flipkart marketplace item reviews data set. So it's good. So the training data set was, okay, this is this product and this is what a particular customer thought about this product they bought. It's not necessary that this sentiment analysis model will work equally well for another use case. Say tweets on Twitter, YouTube comments, or let's say OYO or Make My Trip reviews, right? Similarly, these like AI models may not solve a single aspect of human cognition robustly. Let's say automatic speech recognition today might work well for a young English-speaking adult with an American accent. But ASR research is still trying to reach human parity across various issues and variations in speech across ambient noise, age groups, accents, language, multilingual scenarios like code mixing, code switching, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And just to like re-emphasize, we're still solving for artificial narrow intelligence. We're nowhere near artificial general intelligence, which would help us manage the entire recruitment or the interview process, right? Today's AI models are programmed to perform a single task well and don't do so well when the broader context needs to be taken into account. So individual human signals without the broader context will not always give you the correct picture, right? So say if a call center representative speaks in a happy, jovial voice, that does not necessarily mean that your happy agent is a good one, right? It could very well be the scenario that the customer is shouting at the agent regarding a problem he is facing, and the agent's happy voice may not be appreciated. So the tonal analysis of voice needs to be set within a context for analysis, right?
Right.
And there are a ton of different signals and contexts that we as humans take into account before making a decision, which if were to be automated needs a more sophisticated artificial general intelligence. Now coming to recruitment, right, which your second part of the question was around.
Right.
So recruitment is a complex process. And for this discussion, today's discussion, I like to look at recruitment through the traditional application tracking system lifecycle, right? So essentially things like starting from once a job is created, job is published to the company website or other job boards, job seekers apply, they are screened, they are interviewed, and finally an applicant is hired, right? So there are multiple applications of AI across this whole life cycle. So things like job description creation itself, right? So AI is probably already solving some of these things using Microsoft Word, auto spell correct, or similar things in platforms like Grammarly. How do you make sure that your job, the job that you're publishing across your website or these job boards is reaching your relevant target audience in terms of alignment with respect to skill sets, experience, pay, right? And this could be across LinkedIn, Naukri, Indeed, or your company's own job portal, right? So this is another aspect where AI could make sure the relevant target audience is being reached. This third part would be actually filtering the applicants itself, right? So this is where a certain gamified model could be used. So for example, for coding interviews, we have platforms like CodeChef, HackerRank, where people are like people would be coding day in day out, and they'll just be trying to get more points in that particular game, right, across the scoreboard. And then big companies will essentially, big tech companies will identify these people and then call them for interview. So there are, I think, other companies who are doing this not just for a technical coding based interviews, they're also doing this for other skill sets where it's more of a framework based problem solving using first principles. Or if it's a language based thing, how do you, if it's a front end job where your employee needs to talk to the customers day in day out, are they good at their speaking or presentation capability? So you can build gamified models to enhance interview experience better. So I mean, this would also just help in the sense that you're getting more quality candidates because they are doing this like solving these games more often than just like a 1 hour interview, right? The third thing would be the application tracking system screening and recommendations to filter candidates also, right? So how do you use the vast amounts of data that you already have over the years and you use that to match a potential candidate with a target job description, right? Again, there are multiple factors to take into account, things like bias in data sets and all, but this is something AI can potentially help in filtering out or mapping that alignment better, right? The third thing is the interview itself, right? Once I have filtered and the actual interview is happening, the technical round is done, there are also certain behavioral aspects. So I believe there are companies like HireVue, which are observing micro expressions in the candidate, right? They're quantifying human behavior, they're quantifying human expression, human voices, essentially a bunch of different variables from the video interviews itself, and they're trying to map that to how a candidate might actually perform, right? Having said that, what these all applications in the whole hiring process, there is a key consideration that we as AI developers need to take into account, right? We need to take into account things like bias in your existing training data sets. So for example, Amazon had a case where they were only recruiting male candidates based on some of the AI training data that they previously had.
This was in 2015, I believe.
Yes, yes. So they also need to take into account privacy of candidates. Are they fine with all these processes? You need to take into account ethics of using AI based on the existing biases and privacy that I just mentioned. You also need to take into account the legality of it and the regulations around AI that may or may not exist today, but should be implemented tomorrow for a more like ethical AI application scenario in tomorrow's world, right? And yeah, it's definitely interesting to see teams like iMocha work at the edge of applied AI to some of these scenarios in hiring. And yeah, we definitely look forward to see you guys push the boundaries further.
Great. So Nalin, I think you already answered few of my future questions that I had.
No
Because when
worries,
you,
we can dive deep into some of those
yeah,
later as well.
we will
Yeah.
do that because the word Amazon, the word with the age groups, for example, the word of choice of data set, for example, surely uh, I believe that those who have heard about the Amazon case study, for example, or those who have also might have heard about different legalities and everything. I mean, there are recruiters over here who have surely heard about that. And then a question to their mind also would be there that what about the bias, right? So my next question was anyways on that, whether can AI replicate the human bias? So you actually you banked on the particular case study that the recruiters might be concerned about, the Amazon case study of 2015, wherein they had to stop their particular recruitment process using the AI tool because the data set was biased towards male candidates, right? So what do you think additionally, Shubham, Nalin, that can be done uh, by the AI developers or by the recruiters themselves to ensure that the bias does not come into picture while using this AI video tech?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the news is completely flooded with AI systems that are withholding opportunities, that are withholding finances, resources from in the criminal justice domain, in the recruitment domain, in hiring, in finance, anything and everything, right? And not to forget about cultural denigration as well, right?
Right.
So there are two things that I feel first need to be realized and then need to be brought in action exclusively in our development practices, right? First, continuing over from Nalin's discussion around bias, so I feel fairness is something that is where the human intelligence of the AI developer also has to come into place,
Right.
right? And I think fairness is a socio-technical challenge, right? It's not a technical challenge; it is a technical challenge viewed in the social context, right? Just to give you an example, and there is no single definition of fairness that we can quantify today, right? It is still an unsolved problem. It can never be solved by the definition of it because social context is probably, if we take an example of India, it changes every 40 kilometers, right? So that is not a problem that cannot be solved. It is only a problem that we can continuously attempt to solve, right? The only thing that the AI developers can do is to build their systems intelligent enough or robust enough to be able to account for that social diversity that the system will go through, right? And then around inclusiveness. So I believe, let's say, if we can build for the 3%, which is, let's say, it could be any minority, any sort of disincluded group, I believe we can automatically build for the rest of the 97%, right? So let's say, just to take an example, I saw one of the participants was from Portugal. So and I understand that the accent spoken in Porto versus the accent spoken in Lisbon is very different. What if I can build for the guy sitting in Porto and will I not be also building the system robust enough to accommodate Lisbon and Sao Paulo also into the mix, right? This is something that the AI developer has to be a little sensitive about. Right. That I need to be building for the minority as well.
Got it.
In a little Indian context, if I can build for the guy sitting out of Coimbatore who has a heavy Tamil Nadu accent, and if I can also build for the guy sitting in Hisar who has a Haryana accent, I think I'll be building for the rest of the 97% as well. Right?
Those were good examples, Shubham.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Sujit, over here?
No, I guess Shubham and Nalin really took a tech shot at this, so let it be more tech focused itself.
And Sujit, I believe we've been working with you guys over I don't know how many months. The kind of accountability we see from your side coming in all stages of the application development lifecycle, I think that is commendworthy. So all points to you on fairness, inclusivity, transparency, and the ability to be able to preserve the privacy as well, right?
Yes. And that was exactly my next question, Shubham, on the privacy, because I know that there are laws like 2 consent laws, which is not related to the video tech as such, but there are laws related to that. And then I'm sure that there might be other laws also, and Nalin touched based on few of the legalities also. So my next question was exactly on this thing. What about the candidate experience and privacy, right? I mean, do we have to notify the applicants before the interview that AI is being used? And maybe we'll not be able to stop there. We should also go ahead and give the details about what are this evaluation points kind of thing. So what is your thought on this, Shubham, Nalin, or maybe Sujit, even if you can add something over here?
So yeah, see, from the organization's point of view itself, all organizations will like value diversity as a key HR metric, right? And when you're using some of these AI models and based on the biases in the data sets that exist for these AI models, you are essentially trying to, I mean, it just may happen that you're not recruiting a diverse employee pool as you would have if you were doing just manually, right? So keeping that in mind, and the legality aspect of it could definitely be like had in place, like there could be regulations in place that make sure that AI development itself is taking care of some of these issues. The second question which you mentioned was candidate experience and privacy, right? So we as Microsoft always in our cognitive services or AI terms of use, we always tell that if you're using some of these models for end user interaction, you should always declare to your end users that some of these AI models are being put in use, right? So that's a good idea to have that disclaimer for your end users, because in case there are some discrepancies, they can be like, they can understand that maybe the other at the other end there's no human, this is being done by a computer, and there may be limitations to it, right? One, they can understand that and they don't get agitated unnecessarily, so they can probably bypass that through another feedback route or something like that, right? So that is one. And yeah, it's also like it will, like, the transparent attitude will also help in growing your AI systems further as well, because you're getting good feedback on
Right.
how that is performing in real time.
Right. Right. So because we know that too much information is also sometimes harmful, right? So when you try to be very honest, and when you try to tell the candidate that your facial expressions, for example, would be evaluated and everything, they might tend to get nervous also that the proctoring is happening, the video proctoring is happening, image proctoring happening, your face is being captured, kind of thing. Do you think that this particular nervousness can also affect the performance? And because you might be talking to different clients of Microsoft, right? I mean, in this particular domain. So do you think there is a particular do's and don'ts kind of thing with respect to this particular nervousness component?
I think, Vishal, as I see it, AI, the use of AI, to the extent that it becomes absolutely invisible in the social fabric, is a surety. There is no probability around it, right? And I feel that with any technology, with any new thing in any person's life, there is definitely that initial jitter, initial teething shakes that people have in getting accustomed to any technology, right? But also, let's be cognizant that any candidate, your average Tom from India or Portugal or Brazil or United States, they are also experiencing such technologies in other places that they face, right? So the other day, this was about 3 years ago, I was surprised when Facebook automatically tagged me in one of my pictures that was posted by somebody completely not related to me, right? And that moment, that was a surprise element to me.
Right.
But now I'm completely accepting of this fact that Facebook recognizes my face. Facebook can recognize me among a pool of 7 billion people or 1 billion user base that Facebook has, right? And I feel that initial jitters will definitely happen. And because of how the economy will move, I believe anybody who's in recruiting, anybody who's in the HR operation will understand that the world is moving toward a gig economy, which automatically translates to mean that attrition rates will even grow higher. And Facebook is not at the top end of things, the 20% attrition. They're not at the top end of things. There are companies that are doing much, much, much higher attrition rates. With the scale that people will have to recruit going forward, you cannot expect to scale your human-based operations, right, in recruiting. So having this technology come into this space, there is no options around it.
Got it. You're perfectly right.
The only option is whether 6 months is the gestation period of this technology in your organization, or whether you want to wait for 3 years for this technology to be adopted in your organization, and then have this feeling of being a laggard in the recruiting, and then you're not being able to meet up to your competitors who are trying to recruit much faster, right?
Right.
I feel candidates will adopt. It is only a matter of time.
Got it.
Zoom and video teams have done enough for us to get more acquainted with video calls. I think half the job is only done. Right.
Right. Thanks, Shubham. And I know in iMocha also what we tend to do is that we tend to give practice tests to the candidates so that they are familiar with the system and everything in the video, because there are guys that get nervous facing a video, for example, even though they know that it's their own video, nobody's actually in front of them, kind of thing. That they tend to be nervous. So I think practice test, one of the things, can help over here.
Vishal, I always
Shubham, you mentioned that you miss your maid. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Suju.
Yeah, I always had this thought is like, if I have to give an any online interview, or if I have to give any assessment online, and if there is a camera which is continuously on, and it even takes a consent from me and saying that it's some artificial intelligence, some robot watching me and doing it, my initial fears were I would never do that, right? Because somebody is watching me and I don't know who is watching me is the scariest thing, right? At least in a Teams call or a Zoom call, I know somebody's there in front of me, but here an unknown robot is watching me is always scary. But I would say that was my own apprehensions. Nowadays, with so much of, even if I take my iPhone and I want to open the lock, my Face ID needs to be detected, right?
Right.
So now things have become so common that you need to ensure, like, and especially where the assessments and interviews are taken, a lot of volumes are for the candidates with 0 to 8 to 10 years of experience, and those are today the millennials, right?
I think
and and
right.
the millennials have more. They're adapting to the technology. The new age technology is much faster than maybe Vishal, the people who are into their late 30s or 40s, right? So
Right.
I would say the only thing is what, just inform the candidates what you're doing and all, and people are very fine today that this kind of AI and things. Rather, if it's not there, then people are going to question you. Oh, this software doesn't has an AI. It's not taking my video. Am I using the right tool? That's going to be the reverse question very soon.
Exactly. So guys, we have only 2 minutes, and I'm sure that people might have to get back to work, especially those who are in the other side of the world. So what I'll do is that, because we already spoke about human experience and everything when Shubham talked about missing his maid and everything, right? So I'll just skip this particular question for now, and I'll move to the other last question of the slide, which I think people over here would be eager to know about. What is the future of video interview in tech? So Shubham, Nalin.
Nalin, you want to take a shot at it?
Sure. So as you mentioned, yeah, especially during COVID, we have identified that video interviewing is definitely something that is useful for interviewing at scale without having to schedule for in-person meetings and all of those things, and the logistics that goes along with it. Yeah, so it's definitely useful and it's here to stay, right? But how do we address some of the concerns that arise after video interviewing. So there have been cases of fraud associated with video interviewing where I am sitting here, I'm maybe just doing lip syncing, and one of my friends who's really knowledgeable, who's sitting away from the camera's field of view, and he's answering the questions on my behalf. So how do we detect some of those scenarios of fraud or cheating in interviewing, and like raise that to the interviewer? That's one thing we could do. The other thing is, again, this is slightly further down the line in terms of timeline, but how do we approach the artificial general intelligence scenario as well, where we're just taking multiple signals from the video itself, right? So the micro expressions from my face, how do I tie that back to the content that I'm also speaking, my conversation? How do I essentially tie that back to, let's say I'm solving a question, is that relevant to the particular question that being asked, context to the question? So how do I tie that back into the broader context and score a particular person? And this has to be done for across different people, across skill sets, across age groups, across experiences, levels of pay, different kinds of jobs. So yeah, how do we solve for something more related to artificial general intelligence for hiring? Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
And on that front, I was wondering that I think the world has moved away from text. Blogs seems to be like the age 20 years ago. People are making videos, people are making vlogs instead of blogs.
Right.
So I feel resume is also going to see a fundamental shift. So we're going to move to video resumes probably.
Exactly.
Once people attend an assessment on our platform, I believe the AI, as we learn better, as we expose ourselves to more data, we'll be able to be in a position where the AI can itself recommend better jobs to the same candidate who's passed on one assessment, right?
Perfect.
Also, we were looking at things like pronunciation assessment for, let's say, high-touch jobs like probably sales or probably customer architects, things of that sort.
Right.
And there is one more other thing that I passed over the other day. There is this company known as Rephrase. So what these guys do is they call themselves as MailChimp, but for video. So let's say a candidate applies for a job at Microsoft. Let's say they receive a video which has a human impersonation, which lip syncs, saying that, "Hey Nalin, thanks for applying to Microsoft and ABC blah blah blue blue." Right. So this is essentially a machine-generated video which lip syncs according to whatever is fed into it, which makes the experience of that candidate extremely personalized, right? So the candidate is much more likely to respond to this application mail than just probably dump it in the junk. That I feel is one more area that recruiting could really benefit from. And again, all of these are some flavor, some forms of AI itself, right?
True.
I think that is my take on how recruiting is going to change in the very near future. When I say near future, it could be somewhere between 3 months to probably less than a year, definitely. These are becoming very, very standard off-the-shelf technologies right now.
That's true. So guys, I think it was a lovely answer, both Nalin and Shubham. Damin, do you think we can take a question, because already 3 minutes past 9 over here?
Yeah,
sorry.
Absolutely. I feel a couple of our attendees would have dropped off. We're a little over time. It was such an interesting conversation.
Right.
We lost track of the time. So we are just opening it up to the Q&A from the audience that's available here. If there are any questions, if not, we'll, as it is, be reaching out to all of our attendees and registrants with the entire conversation, transcript, the recording and everything. So if there's anything that you all missed out, you all can always go back and review it later. All right, so we'll just give them like a minute or so for any questions, and I guess then we can drop off. But amazing conversation, Nalin, Shubham, so many insights, so many things that I myself learned today. So wow, I really did not know so many other facets of AI that we could think of.
I second that, Damin. It was an awesome insights.
Conversation, really.
Hey, thank you for having us. It was a great time for us as well.
Yeah, amazing experience for both us and our audience. I'm sure they all loved it. We did get feedback from a couple the people that had to drop off. The shout out that you gave to people in between, giving it right back. He had to drop off. So yes, great convo, and I don't think we have any questions. So I think we can sign off. Amazing conversation. Nalin and Shubham, thanks again for joining us today. Vishal and Sujit, thanks for driving this, conversation, adding your insights, and amazing session, you guys.
Thanks, Zamin.
All
Bye,
right.
Nalin. Bye, Shubham. Bye, Sujit. Bye, audience.
Right.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, everyone.